Are you equipped to educate your child without a teaching degree? This is the topic I'm going to be covering in the video today. My name is Sherry, Christian, wife, and thankful mom to 10 incredible kids. I'm the author of the blog and YouTube channel, Our Life Homeschooling, where I share homeschooling encouragement for everyday moms. I believe that motherhood is ministry, and homeschooling is simply an extension of parenting. My passion is to cheer on other moms who are at home doing the most important work of all, raising the next generation for the glory of God. Have you ever had a neighbor, a friend, maybe a family member come up and ask you how you're qualified to teach your kids at home without a teaching degree? This is something that I've come across a couple times. We've been homeschooling for 15 years now, so I haven't had this happen recently. But several times when I was a new homeschool mom, I had people question me on whether or not I was qualified to teach my kids. Now for me, when this happened, I have a teaching degree. So I've had people that were skeptical of my capabilities, and then as soon as they heard, oh, you have a teaching degree, oh, okay, well then I guess that's fine then. I guess you can do that. But many moms don't have that experience. Many moms are educating their kids without a teaching license. And so when people ask them this question, they don't always know how to answer. I want to give you some reasons today why I believe you are well equipped to teach your own kids, whether or not you have a teaching degree. As I was coming up with the ideas for this video, I started thinking to myself, I was just trying to put a percentage on how many homeschool parents I know that have teaching degrees, because there's a large number of homeschooling parents who have a teaching license. So I was just trying to think, I'm thinking back to the people that I graduated from school with. So I went to college to get my teaching certificate. I went through all my education classes, and I'm thinking of the people I went to school with. I'm thinking of all the parents that I know in the homeschooling community. And we're involved in a couple different communities, just thinking through all those. And the number I came up with was 30%. About 30% of homeschoolers, I would say, are parents who have a teaching certificate. So then I kind of double checked myself. I Googled it, if you trust Google, and just asked how many parents have a teaching degree. What's the percentage? And Google's number was 20 to 25%. So I was pretty close on that guess. There's actually a pretty high percentage of parents who are homeschooling that have teaching degrees. And I think one of the main reasons for this is because they've been in the classrooms and they know that a home education is an excellent education, and they want, obviously, the very best for their own children. Let me just start by giving you a little background into my story. I am a homeschooling mom. We are on our 15th year of homeschooling, but my experience before becoming a parent was teaching in a public school. I taught in the public school system for a couple years. After we had our first son, I quit teaching to stay home with my son. But during that time, and for a while, I subbed in public schools over a couple different counties. Shortly after that, I spent some time teaching in a preschool. There was a time when my husband was in a training, and I was able to go to the preschool and take my son with me. We only worked part-time. It was a couple hours a week. But I had about a year of experience teaching in a preschool. I also have spent some time as a private tutor teaching for Sylvan Learning Centers. So I've had public school teaching experience, I've done preschool, private tutoring, and that's kind of what my experience has been before becoming a homeschool parent. If any of you know some homeschool parents who were former school teachers, most of them will tell you that it's actually been a disadvantage to them, that there are so many things that they had to unlearn to become a homeschool parent. I have found the same thing. It was for the most part a disadvantage because home education is so different. What we were taught in school is very much geared toward teaching large groups of people, and teaching to the government standards. So whatever your state standards are, that was what most of the emphasis was on. There were a couple classes that were really helpful, but for the most part, becoming a homeschool parent was just a huge education itself. I learned so much. However, I will say that there was one advantage I had from my public school teaching experience, and this is an advantage that I wish other homeschool parents had. It's the advantage that it's kind of fueled the reason why I've started this whole channel, and that is that I was able to see what a great education kids are getting at home with their parents. Because I had been in the school system, I saw that what we were doing could be done in so much less time and left so much room for improvement. It does not take 6 or 8 hours a day to give a child a good education. It can be done in 2 to 4 hours. They can have so much more time for free time. And I knew this because I had been in the schools. I saw how much time was wasted on things like everyone getting out their pencils, on state objectives, which I think are poorly done. They're made for large groups of people, not for individuals. I could see through it, and I think a lot of former public school teachers can see through it, and this is why they want to give their kids the very best. This is why they love home education. So the one advantage I do have having some public school teaching experience is really that I just can see how much better a home education environment is. And I think this is what makes me so passionate about encouraging other moms. We live in a time when everyone wants to know what the experts are saying. And if you don't have a professional opinion, professional experience, then people aren't interested in what you have to say. You are the expert on your child. You are the professional. I would hold that a loving, caring, curious parent is the best person to teach their own child. Better than any specialization that a teacher has. I think a parent makes an excellent teacher for their child because you know your child better than anyone else. You're there, you've been there from birth, you know what their struggles are, you know what their gifts are, you know what their interests are. In much less time than it takes to send a child all day to school, you can teach your child specifically, individually, according to their interests and their needs. You are the expert on your child. I want to give you just a couple reasons why you're qualified to teach your kids. The first one is that they were given to you by God. Your child belongs to you. He or she does not belong to the state. They've been given to you, and you have been given the freedom to choose what kind of education you want to give them. Whether that is sending them away to school all day, whether that's a part-time hybrid type school situation, whether that's having them at home with you, homeschooling them, whether that's homeschooling but outsourcing a lot of your subjects. You are the one that's responsible before God for your child. Your child's been given to you. So you are qualified by Him. He's the one that has given you the license, the freedom. He's equipped you to teach your own kids. The second reason I think that you're qualified to teach your kids is because anyone that is homeschooling they haven't stumbled upon it. It's not by accident. This is very countercultural, and they are being very intentional. If you've decided to homeschool your kids, you have come up against a host of things. Friends, family members are going to ask you questions about it. Everyone's going to doubt you. You're going to have to know your stuff. You're going to have to give answers for things. You have to explain to the public school system why you're homeschooling your kids. You have to find out how to legally hand in all your paperwork. Homeschooling is not the default option. You are swimming upstream. And so if you are teaching your kids, you are already being purposeful and intentional, and that fact alone means that you're very interested in them having a great education. Another reason that you're qualified to teach your kids is because you can learn anything you want to learn online. We live in a totally different world. You can start your own business. You can learn a skill all from just watching YouTube videos or just researching online. The whole world has opened up to us now that we have the internet. And so because of this, some homeschool parents get intimidated thinking, how can I possibly teach all my kids everything they need to know? But just because you're homeschooling, it doesn't mean that you're teaching everything. You're just deciding what's taught, when it's being taught, who's teaching it, how long it's taking. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're doing all the teaching. You're equipping them to find answers for themselves, to problem solve. So because we have at our fingertips just a whole world of knowledge, I think this is a big game changer and a reason why homeschooling is becoming more and more appealing. People are realizing that the time kids are spending in school is a waste of time, that it could be better spent, that kids are really just being babysat because a real education is cheap and easy to come by. What does it take then to educate your kids? I think there are two things. And I saw this years ago in an article in the Homeschool Legal Defense Association magazine, and it's really stuck with me. They said you first of all have to believe that homeschooling is really good for kids. And secondly, you have to believe we can pull this off. We can do this. I think those two things alone, if you have those motivations that are driving you, you will be an excellent teacher for your child. I want to give you just a couple tips if you're a mom who doubts yourself. Like I said, the biggest advantage I had in having a teaching background is just that I could see through it. I could see what a great education kids are getting at home. And I wish for all moms to be able to see this. The first thing is you'll learn as you go. Whatever is really challenging for you right now, it gets easier. The more you teach math, the better you get at it. It may be hard. I know it was really hard for me when my kids were all little and we were starting the foundation. Anytime when you start a business, anything you do that's new, the first couple years are hard and you're learning everything, you're establishing routines and patterns, rhythms in your day. Everything is harder in the beginning, but it gets easier. So if you know that and you can just have that perspective wherever you are, especially if you're in the beginning, that it's just gonna be hard at first, but it gets easier. That's gonna help you to keep going and give you some confidence. Another tip I would tell you is to push your kids to be self-educated. This is one thing I really had to unlearn as someone who had been a public school teacher. I thought that every lesson had to be taught one-on-one with my child. I had to be teaching them everything. And I just couldn't grasp the concept of not doing it this way. I didn't understand self-education. But what I learned was as I gradually gave my kids more independence, after they could read, write, after they knew the basics of math, that they flourished. Kids are naturally curious. They're born wanting to know about everything. It's why they ask questions nonstop. If you know that, and if you can just let them move ahead, let them go in directions that they're interested in, why spend 20 minutes, a half an hour trying to cram information into their brains on a topic that they're just not interested in? Now, of course, there are some things that they have to be diligent to just keep working at. They have to keep spending a couple minutes every day learning to read. Those things are important. But when it comes to content like science, history, health, all these peripheral subjects, let them learn on their own. Let them learn based on their interests, because they're gonna learn so much faster. It's gonna stick, and you're gonna find them just gaining momentum without your help. Another tip is, when in doubt, just sit down and read to them. And if you have to do this a couple times a day, and that's what's gonna build your confidence, then just do it. Reading aloud to your kids it helps give you confidence as a mom, because you know that whatever you're missing, whatever gaps you have, whatever you are just not good at, reading fills that in for you. When you read to them, it's your margin for error. Whatever you're missing, it's going to be filled in. You're going to be filling in those gaps when you read aloud to them. And this is something that's so easy to do. Just gather your kids, sit down. It doesn't have to be long. It can be 20 minutes. Find some good quality books and read to them. The last tip is to find a community. It's really hard to homeschool over a long period of time if you're trying to do it on your own. You are swimming upstream, and so you need some people in your corner that can encourage you. It's great if you know YouTubers, or if you are following a mom who writes a blog and you just really connect with her. It's great to have a community online. Maybe you're in a Facebook group. Things like that are so helpful. But it's also, I think it's really important that you have people that you see in person getting together. You don't even have to be a part of a co-op, but just having play dates with other moms. Getting together regularly with other homeschoolers is something that's gonna really give you confidence in what you're doing, and it's gonna help you be better because you're gonna learn from other people. People, I think, have the wrong opinion of homeschool parents. I've seen this. They think that they're not as educated, kind of backwoods-ish. I was really surprised when I got to know other homeschool moms. A lot of them were just a little intimidating to me. Even though I had a teaching degree, most homeschool parents are self-learners, and they're curious. They're always learning new things. I was really surprised when I got into the homeschooling community and got to know other homeschool parents, and I think it's going to do the same thing for you. Thanks for watching today. I hope this encouraged you. If you're new here, I do one video a week on homeschooling encouragement for everyday moms. I'll see you next week.